Now, in Australia, of course, cost of living, number one, A-grade issue. Tomorrow when Parliament comes back, someone might ask a rough question about it. The government will pretend we're doing something, but we all know they're doing nothing. And then we move back onto the damn Voice as the all-day, everyday political issue. Remember, if nothing else, it's a year-long distraction from having to talk about the stuff that actually affects 25 million Australians. And amazingly, we learned just this weekend that Energy Australia, one of the retailers based out of New South Wales, get ready, double-digit price hikes when it comes to your energy bills. Now, kids have gone back to school last week, depending on your school, the week before, the week after. Carry the summer solstice 4 days to the right. You'll eventually get somebody who's starting, I'm sure, in 6 weeks. But generally speaking, school is back. And that, of course, means that people have had to, in some cases, take out personal loans. National Australia Bank says they're going to lend out about $400,000 this summer to get people back into school. There's thousands of people that are doing buy now, pay later deals, a little bit like Dominic Perrottet's land tax plan. That's buy now, pay later. Pay attention to the detail. But this, again, for people to be able to go to school. Now, remember, we're not talking here about private school. We're not talking about independent school. We're talking about public school. Public school education that, as we showed you before, in the past 10 years, according to the Productivity Commission, $319 billion has been spent. $319 billion. Could somebody please explain to me how when you have spent $319 billion on anything in 10 years, that anyone in the public system needs to pay for a cent of anything, let alone enough money to put yourself into debt or essentially to do what some people do, and I certainly remember this from our youth, as no doubt you would as well, the old lay-by system when it comes to your Christmas presents. But those were your Christmas presents, not the pens, paper, glue and all the other stuff that you go to school with. It's outrageous. Yet while all of that's going on in the country, where was the Prime Minister today? Well, just to remind everyone that while I'm sure it's a public hall, basically a private hall, and it was rented out, Canberra is so lefty that even when you have a meeting of lefties in Canberra, you can rent out the National Press Club to be the place where you can have a meeting of lefties in Canberra. You know, middle-of-the-road independent journalism, right? For party political things. And the Prime Minister, of course, well, he had a stern message today to the men and women of Australia who are struggling now that their kids are back at school financially. Oh, that's right. No, he didn't.
Yes, there are already people out there pushing misinformation on social media, drumming up outrage, trying to start a culture war. That's an inevitable consequence of trying to achieve change. There are always those who want to create confusion and provoke division to try and stall progress.
Oh, yeah, of course, that's all right. So if you disagree, right, and you can disagree, but disagree is not misinformation. We talked about this last week, but alas, this is how it's now going to be. Unless you are all in, all aboard, rather than just have a couple of questions, then you are part of disinformation, which of course is garbage.